There was a moment in American history when the United States almost lost control of its nuclear weapons, not to an enemy, not to terrorists, not to hackers, but to a mistake. For decades, Americans were told a simple story. Nuclear war would only start if someone somewhere made a conscious decision to press a button. But the real story, the one that was kept secret for years, is far more terrifying. During the height of the Cold War, the US built an arsenal of over 30,000 nuclear weapons. They were everywhere. Missiles hidden in underground silos across the heartland, bombs loaded onto planes, circling the globe 24/7, warheads stored in bunkers from Europe to Asia. The strategy was called deterrence, and the logic seemed straightforward. If the enemy attacks, America responds instantly, with overwhelming force, mutually assured destruction. But what no one talked about, what the government didn't want you to know, was just how fragile, how terrifyingly unstable that entire system really was. Let's go back to 1961. Over the skies of North Carolina, a US Air Force B-52 bomber, a massive machine designed to carry atomic death, suddenly experienced catastrophic structural failure. It broke apart in mid-air. On board were to Mark 39 hydrogen bombs. Each one was hundreds of times more powerful than the bomb that leveled Hiroshima. As the plane disintegrated, the bombs were released. One of them deployed its parachute and drifted gently toward the ground, landing in a field. The other one plummeted, its parachute failing to open, and slammed into the earth at over 700 miles per hour. When recovery teams arrived, they discovered something that sent a chill down the spine of the entire military command. The bomb that had fallen uncontrolled had gone through almost its entire arming sequence. 6 out of the 7 steps required for detonation had been completed. 3 of the 4 primary safety mechanisms had failed. Only one single, simple, low-voltage switch stood between a peaceful night in North Carolina and a nuclear explosion that would have rendered a huge swath of the East Coast uninhabitable. One switch. But the story gets even worse. Later investigations, declassified years later, revealed something truly disturbing. That final safety switch. It was notoriously unreliable. Engineers admitted it could have easily failed from the impact alone. America didn't prevent a nuclear catastrophe through brilliant design or fail-safe engineering. It survived by sheer dumb luck. And that near-miss over North Carolina wasn't an isolated incident. It was just the beginning of a long, secret history of nuclear accidents, or broken arrows, as the Pentagon called them. In 1958, a bomber collided with another plane over Georgia and had to jettison a nuclear bomb into the waters near Savannah. It was never found. It's still there today. In 1965, a plane carrying a nuclear weapon rolled off the deck of an aircraft carrier into the Pacific Ocean. It and its 1 megaton warhead sank into 16,000 feet of water and were never recovered. In 1968, AB-52 crashed in Greenland, rupturing its nuclear payload and scattering radioactive material across the ice. The list goes on and on. Bombs accidentally dropped, missiles that rolled off transport trucks, weapons simply lost. These weren't just military blunders. They were potential world-ending events that were quietly cleaned up and hidden from public view. But as frightening as these physical accidents were, an even bigger, more invisible threat was lurking within the system itself. False alarms. In the nerve centers of NORAD, deep inside Cheyenne Mountain, soldiers stared at screens, waiting for the blip that would signal the end of the world. And sometimes, the blips came. On November 9, 1979, computer screens at multiple command posts across the US suddenly lit up with a terrifying display. A massive, coordinated Soviet missile launch was underway. Submarine-launched missiles, followed by a full-scale ICBM attack. This was it, the scenario they had trained for. For 6 agonizing minutes, the entire US nuclear command was on high alert. Interceptor jets scrambled. Bomber crews ran to their planes. The president's national security advisor was awakened with the news that a nuclear attack was in progress and a decision on retaliation was needed within minutes. But then, just as panic was setting in, someone noticed a discrepancy. A computer error had brought the world to the brink of nuclear war. It happened again and again. In 1980, a faulty 46-cent computer chip caused the warning systems to report an incoming Soviet missile attack, not once, but twice in 3 days. Each time, bomber crews started their engines. Each time, launch officers in missile silos began the countdown procedures, and each time it was human intervention, not the system, that prevented catastrophe. It was an officer questioning a strange radar reading. It was a commander who noticed the number of incoming missiles seemed illogical. It was a human being in the chain of command who paused, who doubted the machine, and in doing so, saved millions of lives. The public never knew the full extent of these close calls. Why? Because admitting the truth would have shattered the very foundation of Cold War strategy. It would have destroyed the public's confidence in the government's ability to control its own weapons. It would have revealed that the promise of deterrence, of perfect, rational control, was a carefully constructed myth. So, the stories were buried in classified reports, the incidents downplayed, and the narrative of American strength and infallibility was maintained. Over the years, the systems have improved. Treaties have reduced the total number of weapons. Safeguards have become more sophisticated. But here is the uncomfortable reality we have to live with today. Thousands of nuclear weapons still exist. They are still armed. They are still on head-trigger alert, ready to be launched in minutes. And they are still ultimately controlled by complex computer systems and fallible human beings. Humans who get tired. Humans who are under immense pressure. Humans who have to make unimaginable decisions in seconds, based on data that could be wrong. The history of the Cold War proves something profoundly terrifying. The most dangerous moment isn't when a missile is actually in the air. It's the moment just before the moment of uncertainty, when a lone individual has to decide whether the warning flashing on their screen is real or a ghost in the machine. So this is the question America has never wanted to ask itself out loud. If we have already survived this many accidents, this many technical glitches, and this many human errors, how many more mistakes can the world afford to survive? Because the greatest existential threat to humanity isn't the fire of a nuclear blast. It's the quiet, comforting belief that we are, and always will be, in complete control. If you want to uncover more of the real American history that was hidden from you, the stories that almost changed the world forever, make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching.